Hi, I'm delighted to be joined today by Liz Sandwith, a former head of internal audit at Channel 5 and BUPA, a business consultant, and since 2016, the Chief Professional Practice Advisor at the Institute of Internal Auditors. You mentioned about supply chains, and there's been a lot of talk about, I suppose, in a globalised world, international supply chains and how a lot of them have come under strain. You spoke more, I guess, about domestic supply chains, but do you think there is an opportunity for, I guess, a re-emergence of a UK manufacturing sector and bringing parts of the economy that have been outsourced to cheaper locations back into the UK or back closer to home?
I think that's a very real possibility. Again, stuff I'm hearing in the marketplace is people have had problems, call center type problems, IT support function problems with, suppliers that are outside of the UK. And some have gone as far as to say, this isn't the future. We need to bring it closer to home, if not bring it back in-house, because one sales director said to me that they'd had to send out 1,000+ laptops to a supplier in India in order to enable them to continue to support the business. And he said, we're never going to see those again. So, is the way forward to bring it back in-house where we have much greater control and we can make sure that, they have the appropriate policies and procedures in place that will protect them and us in the event of another pandemic, which they're already forecasting, aren't they?
Yeah. I guess on a slightly different note, I was, again, prepping for our conversation. I came across a survey carried out by the Reuters Institute, and I think that was for the end of April, and they found that 37% of the people polled had felt that the news media was doing a good job around the reporting of the coronavirus situation. I guess as a former head of internal audit at Channel 5, I was keen to get your thoughts on how you think the reporting of this has gone, and I guess a follow on in that role as head of internal audit. Did you have the opportunity to look at things like controls around preventing media bias and, I guess, ensuring accuracy programming?
Yes, I think the world, to be fair, I think is a bit different from my time when I was at Channel 5 because of the massive rise of social media. Yeah. And I think it makes it really quite challenging. I always say to people, and I think maybe this is a bit of a generation thing, but I always say to people, wherever I am in the world, and I travel a lot, I always refer to the BBC for the news. Yeah. Because inherently I sort of think they will be the ones that will get it right. But I think that's not always the case these days. And I think sometimes news is censored from perhaps a commercial or a reputational perspective in a similar way to other things are censored, across organizations and businesses. I know when I was at Channel 5, we were very keen on being very clear, and we talked a lot about this at things like risk meetings or audit committee, about the accuracy of our factual information. So if we were doing news where we were reporting the news, or whether we were creating documentaries that we were purporting to be factual documentaries, how important it was to be very clear to our customers and the public at large where we had a message that we believed was factually accurate because of the credibility of the sources that we'd used. Equally, I think there are other instances where you cannot be absolutely certain of the news. And, Channel 5 had its moments where we would be on the front page of the Daily Mail because of something that we had said. Yeah. But I was thinking particularly when I, like you, was preparing for for our interview about the bombing on the 7th of July 2005 in London. Yeah. And I was at Channel 5 and I was in London that day. And, you know, that information and the source of that information was real for us, because our officers were on Longacre and we saw soldiers, you know, walking up and down Longacre, thinking about protecting people and not knowing what was going on. And, you know, we invoked our crisis management plan, all of those sorts of things. So when we reported about that, we could do it from an experience perspective. So the credibility was really robust. Other times it's less difficult. But, you know, issues around our reputation, so we wouldn't deliberately misreport. And I hope that that's exactly what happens now with our newscasters, our major companies. I think that the sense check now sometimes is also around social media, where, you know, people who were there at the scene are able to share things, and that sometimes presents challenges around credibility of information. But I do think absolutely it is internal audit's function to make sure that if the organisation you work for, whether it's in our annual report and accounts, whether it's on the 6 o'clock news, is accurate, insofar as we are, as internal audit or as an organisation, able to ensure accuracy. So have we got rigorous processes, controls, checks in place to make sure that, you know, we are running with correct information that has been validated in some form or other? But I think it is fair to say that there's always more than one interpretation of a set of data, and therefore it can be very difficult for those reporting the news and for the public, you and I, to be certain as to the facts and to the rigor of the facts we are being given.
Mm-hmm. I suppose moving it back into the internal audit sphere again, the feeling is that there still appears to be, I guess, significant differences across organisations around the value that they place within their internal audit functions. What hope, you know, or what opportunities do you hope emerge from this for the profession, I guess, to have a greater influence around strategic decision making and ultimately a stronger voice around boardroom tables?
I think that's a really good question, and I think that, you know, you've accurately reflected that I have a very strong hope that in the internal audit profession will seize the moment in terms of using the coronavirus pandemic as a learning opportunity for us and for organisations to see the value that internal audit can bring. But I think it's also a real wake-up call for us. So, you know, people talk about, you know, internal audits taking weeks to do and then waiting weeks for reports. The message I'm getting now from all of internal audit stakeholders is that's not good enough. You know, we need information now. And that's one of the things that's come out of the last 15 weeks, people demanding information, demanding assurances around a whole raft of things, not just within organisations, but across the country. They want it now. This, well, you know, we need to go away and think about it and we'll come back and we'll write a report and then you'll know, isn't good enough anymore. So for me, it's important that we adopt a much more agile approach in what we're doing. So we need to provide assurances more quickly, respond to our stakeholder requests, if you like, or expectations. You know, there's often been a scenario where a head of internal audit will sit in their office, they'll put the programme of work together for the year ahead, they might talk to some senior directors, they present it to the audit committee, everybody nods a lot, and then we crack on and do the work. I think now and moving forward, I think it's extremely likely that people are going to say, well, actually, that's not a topic we're particularly concerned about. So internal audit, don't waste your time there. However, this is an area where we need your input. So, making sure that that happens and us responding to our stakeholder requirements has got to be the way forward. But I think we also need to think about new tools. So things like data analytics needs to be embraced across more internal audit functions. And that doesn't mean go out and buy some expensive equipment. It means, what have you got in the business that you can use? How can you work better with your IT team to come up with some exception reports? Can we download stuff, use Excel? It's thinking outside the box, trying to be more efficient in terms of what we do, not simply go out and buy something off a shelf. So thinking, what have I got? What can I use? How can I make it work? Which is really reminiscent of what we've seen through the lockdown, isn't it? People doing things at home that they would never have done before because of a set of circumstances. And internal audit needs to build on those circumstances. What I do think we need to do better is our reporting. So I've been talking to people about tools such as flash reporting. So an agile process during the audit where we keep our customer involved all the way through the audit, and then very quickly, within 48 hours, issue a report because we've already talked through all of the findings. So we can get the report out. And I'm hearing audit committees saying, and we want sight of it at that point, not in 3 months when we have an audit committee, but now. So how can we make that work? I also think we need a better understanding of what the immediate risks are. So I get a little nervous when I hear heads of internal audit saying, oh, it'll be good to get back to what we were doing in February, won't it? No, going back's not an option. Remember bottling? We need to bottle what we've learned to move forward. I think one of the things we would all expect internal audit to have a look at very fast, if not already, is the organisation's crisis management plans, business continuity plans. Everything I'm hearing is, there's going to be a spike too, whether it's swine flu, COVID-19, what it is, there's going to be something else coming down the track. Are we ready for that? Will we be caught again? I think there are, as I said earlier, thinking about, beyond the immediate, but things like cash reduction. Can we help our organisation identify opportunities to reduce costs, manage cash better? So more work perhaps in the financial area. And what about the long term? I have been talking to people about organisations. They have mission statements, they have goals and objectives, etc., etc. But it's about the purpose. What is the organisation's purpose? And I tend to go back to the BBC, who created their purpose, I think, in something like 1942, which was to educate, inform, and entertain. And those are that's a purpose that stood the test of time. Organisations often today, I'm seeing, change their purpose every other week. And that makes it very difficult then to build a strategic plan for the future, to make sure that you've got goals and objectives that help you deliver what you have to do this year. So I'm hoping that internal audit will be involved in helping organisations do this. And we had at our virtual forum a really brilliant example of a head of audit who'd gone to a board meeting. And they were talking about, the strategy, the business model, and, what they were doing, the goals and objectives. And he literally said to them, you do realise that your business model and your strategy are out of line, that, if you deliver one, you won't deliver the other because they're contrary to each other. And there was that sort of get back in your box internal audit. Not sure that's something you should be involved in, but he persisted. He had courage. One of the things we talk about is speak truth to power. So he had the courage to do that. And at the end of the meeting, they absolutely got where he was coming from. And, we need to do more of that. Our internal audit code of practice that we have in the financial services sector, we introduced one this year in the private and third sectors, talks a lot about the role of internal audit, reporting lines, relationships, and the importance of internal audit being at the top table.
And in terms, you've mentioned a few of the things that the Institute have had going on to support both members and non-members. I guess for anyone who's not come across any of the material, Liz, where would people be able to find some of the things that you guys have been doing?
They're all on our website, which is Chartered IIA UK. You can look at it, you can see it. You'll see on the very front page, there's the COVID-19 hub. You click on that, it takes you to all our technical guidance. Also, we've got the notes of all of the meetings we've held, so you can read them and see how the conversations have developed, what the questions have been asked, and how each head of audit has shared knowledge and experience. So it's all there. I would, of course, advocate that you join as a member of the Institute if you're in the internal audit profession, because we have, you know, a significant amount of information that's available to our members, lots of technical guidance, reports, all of that sort of thing.
That's fantastic. Liz, thank you very much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. Many thanks.